Want to bring in Michael Starr Hopkins, Democratic strategist, attorney, contributor for The Hill. Chris Wilson, former Ted Cruz campaign pollster and the CEO of WPA Intelligence. Gentlemen, how are you? Good day to both of you. You got your pom-poms ready, do you? Chris, what about the message about America's cheerleader? In my view, that was a major point that he wanted to drive home today.
Well, it was, and I think it was one of his better speeches. I think it was important because of where he delivered it in Davos. But I think the two takeaways that I had from the speech is, one, it was a more pro-trade message than I'm used to hearing coming out of the administration. I think that's evidence to kind of the de-Bannonization of this White House at this point. But the second one is he took his immigration message overseas as well, and it's clear that he is very dialed in on ending chain migration and e-lottery, and then tying it back to asking other countries to help with that. And so overall, but the economic strength and sort of the America's cheerleader and the citing of statistics and showing how much the American economy is improving and continues to improve. I think, frankly, you see that's why his poll numbers improved. His favorability is up slightly, and the numbers of people saying he's doing a good job of the economy are over 50%.
I think you coined a new phrase. Have you used de-Bannonization before?
I don't think so, no. It's
Michael,
right here the first time.
Is he onto something, Michael?
Yeah, I thought the speech was a good speech. He sounded a lot less like Stephen Miller and a lot more like Ronald Reagan. The words were all good, which is usually what happens when he stays on the teleprompter, but he's got to back those words up, and so he has to address things like income inequality, making sure that the average American is seeing the benefits that Wall Street's seeing. And so the speech was good, but now he has to back it up with action.
All right, let's get to two more points now. Here is the president taking on the media during that question and answer, the Q&A before leaving Davos. Watch.
As a businessman, I was always treated really well by the press. The numbers speak and things happen, but I've always really had a very good press. And it wasn't until I became a politician that I realized how nasty, how mean, how vicious, and how fake the press can be as the cameras start going off in the back. But overall, I mean, the bottom line, somebody said, well, they couldn't have been that bad because here we are, we're president.
You heard the smattering across the room there. CNN came out of that and said, Trump slams media. And then they said Trump booed at Davos, which I think there were a few boos. Apparently, a couple folks walked out. I mean, you heard it yourself, Michael. What did you think of his statement and reaction there?
I thought it was beneath the president. A free press is a pillar of democracy. And when the president punches down and, talks about fake news just because he doesn't like the coverage, I think it does all of us a disservice.
Chris, were you offended?
I wasn't offended by it. I think it was misplaced. He was on such a solid roll and getting good positive feedback. I would be interested to find where did the boost come from the crowd or the press?
Right, he's always ribbing the media, right?
Yeah, it's part of his message. He plays his base.
Okay, now there's this big story, gentlemen, quickly on this, whether or not, the New York Times is reporting that Don McGahn, his attorney, basically did not carry out an order, and that order over the summer was to fire Bob Mueller. John Roberts is reporting that it was brought up in a conversation and then it was dropped. I asked Newt Gingrich about that last hour, about how he frames these competing stories, and this is how he sees it.
Historians are going to look back on this period as schizophrenic insanity. On the one hand, you have genuine FBI information coming out about clearly covering up for Hillary Clinton in ways that are astonishing, which probably won't make page one of the New York Times. On the other hand, you have a non-story about a non-event. I mean, if the president didn't actually fire Mueller, even if the president got really angry and said, gee, I'd love to fire Mueller, there was no event there.
Chris, how do you see it? No there?
I think legally it's a nothing story, but I think there are two main issues out of this that are negative for him from a public opinion standpoint. The first one is it adds fuel to the fire for those people who believe that Trump has something to hide here. And the second one, it also adds to the narrative that this is a dysfunctional decision-making organization in which the president is constantly having to be talked down by senior aides. And neither of those reflect well on the White House.
My guess is, Michael, that this story broke based on some of the interviews that have been done with Bob Mueller's team. Those at the White House. What is your take on it?
I think that's true, and I think if I take my political hat off, I was a criminal defense attorney here in Manhattan. When you start to look at these incidents as not just isolated incidents, but put them all together and look at the totality, it begins to sow consciousness of guilt, which is what prosecutors look for when charging obstruction. And so I think, he's put himself in a really dangerous position of, if he testifies and tells the truth, he may incriminate himself. If he doesn't testify, then, he risks being subpoenaed. So the president's in a really bad position. And I have to say, I think his presidency now, there actually are questions about whether it's at risk.
Interesting. We'll see when it happens, folks, right? Thank you, Michael.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. You guys have a good weekend. Appreciate your time.